It's 4:30 now, then the meeting will.
Good afternoon and welcome to our regular council meeting for September 15th, 2025 at 4:30 p.m. At this time, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional territories and the oral practices of the Blackfoot Nation, which include the Siksika, the Kainai, and the Bakani. We also acknowledge the Tsuut'ina, the Stoney Nakoda First Nations, the Métis Nation District 4, and all people who make their homes in the Treaty 7 region of southern Alberta. We're making this acknowledgement to demonstrate our continuing efforts to work together as we strive for reconciliation through increased and collective learning. To get the meeting underway, we have a staff introduction. I'd like to call upon Manager of Recreation Services, Tabitha Williams. Tabitha, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. We have recently hired several staff. I have one of them here today. This is James Nemes. He is our pool shift supervisor level 1. He comes to us with a little bit of lifeguarding background, but most importantly, aircraft maintenance, which he's already put to work at the pool. Apparently there's some transferable skills between aviation and the water, so we're excited to have him. He's moved him and his wife here to Tilly, and he's said that he's making the City of Brooks a long-term employer, so we're going to hold him to it.
Where is James from?
BC.
Yeah, from Kelowna.
Kelowna.
Oh, okay. Hey, well, yeah, welcome to Brooks. Yeah. Thanks for working for the City of Brooks there. We appreciate that. Thanks, Tabitha. Okay, we also have interim CAO Lagore with acknowledgement.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you and the council. I'd just like to recognize our enforcement services team. We were getting some outstanding comments of the work they're doing, and working in law enforcement, as Sir the Staff Sergeant can attest to later, is not an easy profession. You're damned if you do and damned if you don't. And we've had some excellent compliments on them. They've been working at Sunderland Park on the weekend, helping people on waste management, etc. Just general comments, and it's been very well received. And I just want to thank them. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, thank you. We've had some issues over there, so it's nice to have those solved here now, or looked after at this point here too. So thank you very much here too. I'd like to call the meeting to order. There's an agenda in front of you, moved by Councillor Goodenough that the agenda be adopted. All those in favor? Carried. Moved by Councillor Idris that the minutes from the regular council meeting held September 2nd, 2025 be approved. All those in favor? Carried. Moved by Councillor Jessica that the June, July, and August 2025 RCMP report be accepted as information. Sergeant at Arms, if you want to come forward here.
Thank you for having us today, everyone. Really appreciate it. I have another officer with me, and I'll introduce him in a moment. But I do want to speak to what Mr. Lagore just spoke about with the peace officers. I will say it is a tough job. When you're in any type of law enforcement, it's tough to begin with. But the other thing I want to say is, and I want this council to know and the viewers, the RCMP has a really, really strong and good relationship with the city peace officers, including the county peace officers. But we had that when I was first posted here, and I'm happy to say that that strong relationship still exist today, and in fact, I've made reference to them in a couple different places in my report here. So just want to second what the CAO is saying, and very much appreciate that relationship. Just going through my report. The report does cover 3 months, the month of June, July, and August. And as a result of that, the report's a little bit longer than the typical report that I would speak to. With that said, I'm not going to speak to every single point verbatim on the report just for the sake of time, but I will hit on some highlights. So again, this report does cover June, July, and August. In those 3 months, we did respond to 1,336 municipal calls for service. There was a total of 108 prisoners lodged in the cells, 269 municipal criminal record checks were completed, and 171 violation tickets were issued. I put a little chart in the report that I've submitted that kind of breaks it down month by month if you wish to see it in that manner. Point number 2, I did want to talk about staffing. I actually wanted to introduce 2 officers today. Unfortunately, one of them couldn't make it. But our new school resource officer, Constable Scott Lachance, did make it today. So I'll have him turn his microphone on and introduce himself.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor and City Council members, for having me today. Just a quick introduction. My name's Constable Scott Lachance. I'm going to be 35 years old soon. I brought my wife along here with me. Got a 2-year-old at home and an 8-month-old baby girl, so the Lachance household's a little bit preoccupied and busy at the moment, but it's absolutely great to be here. Previously, I was a member of the Cold Lake RCMP detachment, dealing with a very high level of crime, a lot of prolific offenders up there, and priority rates of calls in terms of the criminality index. The position here in Brooks actually opened up while I was a member up in Cold Lake. It went across the National Job Board, and I gracefully applied to the position, and thankfully I received the position. So just so you guys are aware, I actually deliberately wanted to be here in this community, and I'm here to make a very positive impact with our community partners as well with our school board. Prior to being in the RCMP, I was a member of the Canadian Armed Forces for 10 years. I was previously a commanding officer, commissioned officer. I also did hold a position as a squadron commander in the Air Force. I volunteered a lot of time to the Royal Air Cadet program, worked a lot with at-risk youth. Then I voluntarily released my commission to be actually an infantry soldier, part of the combat arms trade. Within that experience, I've pretty much been across Canada, and I did a couple deployments as well. I did gain a couple specialty skills. However, I graduated from university with a degree in human relations, and now I'm fully capable of immersing myself in my education and actually getting the opportunity to give back to my community, which is something that I hold very close to my heart. So I'm just very excited to be here. It's very positive for my family and I to be here, and I'm really looking forward to the future. Don't plan on leaving anytime soon, so I'll be around. Everybody has been incredibly kind and welcoming me with open arms, and just a fantastic community from what I've observed so far. So thank you guys for having me.
First of all, thanks for coming to Brooks or whatever. We have a nice lake here. It's not as cold as Cold Lake, but we do have a nice lake here. And the position you're filling is much needed too, and I know you'll do very well in that position there too. So thanks for making Brooks your home.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and with Scott, it really is a pleasure to have him here. And when he first got here, him and I had a discussion, and it became very, very apparent in that discussion that he's here for the right reasons. He wants to work with youth, he wants to work with schools, and he's going to be an excellent fit for the team. So we welcome him as well. So thank you, Scott. Really appreciate that. I did have a second member that I wanted to introduce, but she wasn't able to make it here. My apologies for that. So I'm just going to scratch her off my agenda, and perhaps at the next meeting I can introduce her to council and the viewers at that time. With respect to our incoming members, so we've just heard from Scott. You're aware that there's another new member. We have had a little bit of staffing movement within the detachment. We've had a couple members go, and of course, when a couple members go, we get a couple members in return, sort of thing. So right now we are down one member, so we have one what we call hard vacancy. And we've already had a recruit named that's going to be here next month So that'll kind of bring us flush with that there. So it's just part of the job, and part of what we do is transfers. So it's not unusual, and we always welcome our new members. So yeah, I will move on and further down the agenda. And the one thing I had mentioned, and Scott, you're welcome to stick around, or if you have to get going, leave that up to you. Because this report does speak to 3 different months, I did kind of highlight several different incidents that occurred in those 3 months. I'm not going to speak to each one of them, but they are there for your reading pleasure or your reference afterwards, if you wish. With that said, I do want to touch on a few. Point number 5, and the reason I picked these ones is they're more recent and they are noteworthy. So point number 5 under significant incidents, July 15th, there was a report of a break and enter to an occupied home. This happened at 4:10 in the morning, and basically there was residents inside the home sleeping, and they awoke to someone banging on the door. And it became very apparent that that person was trying to get in the house, and in fact that person did knock the door off its hinges, sort of thing. Once that individual seen that there was people in the house, that individual fled the scene on foot. I'm happy to say that our officers attended. They immediately started searching for that person. They located that person. There was a foot chase, and happy to report that they took that person into custody. So a 39-year-old male from Medicine Hat was arrested and charged with a number of offenses related to that. I want to touch on point number 7. It's in relation to a search warrant and some drug seizures. On August 9th at 7:30 in the morning, our RCMP officers were basically conducting checks on it's kind of a well-being check on an individual. They attended a residence, and while there, they made some very noteworthy observations related to drugs and drug paraphernalia. As a result of those observations, they arrested 6 persons in the home. They obtained a search warrant for that home, and they executed that search warrant, and they recovered a large amount of drugs, including methamphetamine and drug paraphernalia. 4 males, 2 females were charged with trafficking a controlled substance, and all of them were subject to hearings and released from custody. The third one I want to talk about is August 20th. Kind of a busy day, I think, for the whole city. That's when the supercell storm buckled down on Brooks and the area. No doubt it was busy for our team as well. We actually wound up calling in several officers, and we responded to 12 different occurrences related to the storm. And I should say 12 documented occurrences. There were smaller ones that probably weren't documented. But basically, just to recap those, there was 4 calls related to people in distress because of the storm. There was 2 calls of alarm calls related to broken glass and possible intrusions. There was, of course, I'll back up. Highway 36, there was a semi-truck that lost its load on the highway. There was a big one on Highway 1 and Highway 36 that probably everyone's familiar with, where power lines and the transformers were knocked down, including on top of one vehicle, resulting in a lengthy road closure. There was one call of hail penetrating a vehicle and injuring the occupants in the vehicle. There was another call of hail penetrating the vehicle, causing the driver to lose control and hit the ditch. No injuries on that one. There was one call related to a 2-vehicle collision near officers who were working on another call, and then there was a sign that was knocked down by the CRA. Now, some of those are obviously within the city and some of those are outside the city, but that was kind of a snapshot of August 20th for us. That's in addition to our day-to-day calls. These are just storm-related calls. But I know I've had that question with respect to what type of calls we had that day. So that was the 3 significant incidents I want to touch on. Again, there's more. If you want to review those, by all means, please do that. With that said, I'm going to move down to my other messaging portion of my report, and I want to make reference to 3 other calls. Often I get questions about what type of people we're dealing with, and what their backgrounds are and so on. So I just captured a few. So regarding point 2 in the significant incident section, which was basically a stolen vehicle that left the Medicine Hat area and was reported to us entering the city. That vehicle entered the city and we tried to stop it, and basically it fled from us in a very dangerous manner, including high speeds, dangerous driving in the city and so on. And we stood our resources down for public safety reasons. But later we re-engaged that vehicle on Highway 1 as it traveled west towards Calgary. And eventually we wound up engaging the Bassano detachment and the Gleason detachment and our police dog services, and we were able to safely bring that vehicle to a stop. But to give you an idea of the individual in the background there, that person was on one release order for 2 different property offenses, 4 driving offenses, 2 person offenses, robbery, failed to comply with an order, and failed to appear in court. So there's a bit of a history there. If I move on to point number 3, that's in relation to a suspicious vehicle that was seen in the rural area with someone that had parked it and walked away from it. And thanks to the public and to the officers, we're able to determine that individual made it into the city of Brooks without the vehicle, and indeed that vehicle was stolen. So we located that individual, we made an arrest, and a bit about that person's background. Was on 4 various types of release orders for approximately 4 property offenses, 1 assault, 1 mischief, 3 failed to appear in court, and 7 drug offenses. So again, just speaks to the history that we're dealing with there. And regarding point 4, this involves the peace officers. They had located a occupied stolen vehicle not far from the fire hall. Our members were engaged, they attended. There was several people in the vehicle, if I recall, but the driver was arrested, and he had 7 outstanding warrants of arrest, which 5 were for failed to appear in court, and 2 were for mischiefs. Plus was on one release order. So it's just a little kind of a snippet I took from some of our calls, and it just speaks to the history and sometimes the background that people have with the people that we're dealing with, if that makes sense. Moving on further down my report, I want to talk about Crime Severity Index. The 2024 CSI reports are out, and so just as a reminder what CSIs are, Crime Severity Index, it's a score assigned to a community based on the amount of crime and the severity of that crime. So the overall score for Alberta-wide, was 95.6, which is a 9% decrease from the previous year of 2023. But keeping in mind it was 95.6. The city of Brooks, the score assigned to the city was 84.5, which was a decrease of 19.8. So when I look at CSIs, I always look at what that provincial score is, and it kind of helps you judge, where you fit in with the rest of the province. So I'm happy to report that we are trending lower than the provincial score. And in fact, I did a little digging on this today. Of the 46 municipal detachments in Alberta, 19 were over that benchmark of 95.6, and 27, including the city of Brooks, were below that benchmark. So I'm quite proud of that, and I think the city should be as well. So I just wanted to point that out. In the report, there's a couple pages towards the back that speak more about the Crime Severity Index and show some graphs and some more explanation on that. I want to talk about our new commanding officer in Alberta. It is Deputy Commissioner Trevor Daru. He took command in August of 2025 from the past commander, who was Deputy Commissioner Rob Hill, who's since retired. Deputy Commissioner Daru has 37 years of policing experience, and it's very noteworthy that he actually served in Southern Alberta District Office, and so he was our district officer for this region for a few years. So I've definitely had the pleasure of speaking with him in the past and even working with him a little bit, and perhaps some of you may know him. But anyway, he's a great officer. It's great to see him there. One thing that was pointed out about him is he's focused on continuing to build a modern, progressive police service, valuing innovation, embracing change, and is one that reflects the diverse needs of Alberta. So, great guy doing great things, and I look forward to that. Getting towards the end of my agenda, a couple new initiatives I want to talk about. And again, I'm going to make reference to the peace officers because they were in on this one here. We ran an operation on July 3rd called Operation Street Sweep. It is basically an operation where we go on a initiative to round up people that are wanted on outstanding warrants. We also check people for compliance on court conditions, and we also are out there to monitor and intervene with aggressive drivers. And when we do this operation, we involve all of our partners, or as many as we can. In this case, the city peace officers, the county peace officers, and so on. So we had some great results there. There was 38 traffic tickets issued. There was 25 traffic warnings issued. There was 19 outstanding warrants executed on 10 different people. And there was 12 compliance checks done on persons bound by court conditions. So it's a great operation, and those operations will continue. Another new initiative that we recently did, September 11th, is we had our first Coffee with a Cop in the city. And Joel, I see you nodding because I know you've met people for coffee and stuff. And it's more about it's more than coffee. It's about a platform to talk to people, to have discussions, to hear what's working on with policing, to hear what needs improvement and so on. Anyway, it was a great show. We had it at A&W, and I thank A&W for allowing us to have it there. The parking lot was full, the restaurant was full, and it was just a really great event. And because of that, we're going to continue having those and continue interacting with the public on that platform. I have point 6 there under under that section there. It just talks about detachment priorities, and we continue to analyze and adjust. Well, that Operation Street Sweep, the Coffee with a Cop, all of that becomes our priorities, and if it's working, we continue to add those to our detachment priorities. Lastly, that's all I really have on my agenda. The one thing that I realize is that because of elections, this might be the last time that we're all in the same room and talking about policing and the issues that matter to the city. I just want to thank all of you for welcoming me with open arms. I've had some great discussions with council, both in this room and elsewhere. And I know you guys all have a hard job, and I just want to say thank you to everybody. And, I recognize that some of you might be back in the same room and some might not be. So I wish everybody luck in whatever direction you go. So thank you for all of that. That is all I have on my agenda. Again, there's some attachments on my document for further reading if you wish. Does anybody have any questions for me regarding my report?
Yeah, I got a number of things, and then I'll open it up to the rest of the council, but I'm going to maybe put Councillor Idris on the spot here because we often talk about people that are rearrested after they've been put on bail, and I don't know if you remember that stat. We were at that conference one time, but do you remember the stat? But it's quite phenomenal, and yeah, go ahead.
It was 100 people in Alberta are responsible for over 70% of the crime impact in Alberta.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's changed at all there, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just want to thank you for your work with the supercell. That's not easy to do on a day like today when you're being blasted by hail and everything, too. So thanks very much for that, too. And to see the crime severity index go way, way down, I think that's great for what you guys are doing, whatever, in the community. And it's such a nice positive story for the community there, too. So I'll open it up to any other councilors' questions. Councillor Jessica.
Yes, thank you very much for your report and for the work you do on our behalf, you and your officers.
Thank you.
So both our bylaw people and RCMP are always having to deal with limited resources, and so it's much appreciated when the there's overlap in the duties, and traffic control is one of them. And, you know, I see people not just doing rolling stops, but going through stop signs all the time, and there's speeding and everything going on I guess it's a fact of life. But I'm just wondering, for June, July, August, for the 2 months, you have pretty substantial violation ticket numbers, and then August, it's about half of that. So just was wondering what
Yeah, most certainly. I'd be glad to comment on that. So, so the first thing I want to say is the detachment, when I got here, had 3 detachment priorities identified. And I want to remind everybody that those priorities are set locally with the public, with elected officials and so on. And those priorities are crime reduction, okay, with a focus on property crime, basically drug enforcement and drug reduction, which is great because often that's related to property crime. And the third one was traffic safety, okay, and that's really a piece that you're talking about. When we see fluctuations in the number of tickets that our members are writing, often that's dictated and the result of other workload. You know, we as you've seen from some of the occurrences that I touched on, we've had some serious things happen over the summer, and it's no doubt been a busy summer. So sometimes, not saying that we ignore traffic, the focuses might be in other areas for brief periods and stuff. So you're absolutely right about that. I take comfort when I see that, knowing that we actually do have the city peace officers, the county peace officers in place, because I know they do a phenomenal job, and I know, you know, things aren't being ignored and things aren't being left. So you will see some fluctuation based on other workloads, if that makes sense.
Okay, any other questions? Councillor Idris.
Thank you very much for your report. I was trying to find another word. Rather than say I enjoyed the report, but the report was really insightful.
Okay, good.
And I really like this chart that you begin the report with, because I know it was done this time because it's like 3 months, but I would love to see it going for the whole year when we do the reporting, so that even we can look at trends. For example, why is 1 month? Because in the past it used to be just given as a like a narrative, but having it this way we will be able to follow with the month. Then I want to go to the crime severity index. Again, good news to see the number going down. I spent some time yesterday to open the report and read about other communities, and maybe I have some questions about that on another occasion. Fraud is one of the top 3. What are the type of frauds you are seeing?
For lack of better terms, frauds are quite the animal at times, and the old days of check fraud and you know, simple fraud are kind of gone. Right now, we're seeing frauds at all levels, over computers, over the telephone, from businesses that are delivering services, you know, to the public that aren't legit businesses, and so on. So it kind of ranges all over the spectrum, so to speak. The one thing I will say about frauds is it is not uncommon to have a low solve rate on frauds. If the culprit and the suspects are local, that's one thing. Often the suspects are out of province, often out of country, and using computers and telephones to commit those frauds. And I have learned that the best defense for fraud is basically awareness, and not to fall victim to frauds in the first place. Because once you're victimized with fraud and you've lost monies and stuff, it is, you know, can be very difficult to solve that crime, and often to get that money back is, you know, that's a rare thing, so to speak, if that makes sense.
Thank you. The other point, Constable LaChance just left. I had the opportunity to meet with him, and I was very, very impressed with
With
his
who, sorry?
Constable
Okay,
LaChance. Just wanted to say that we are very impressed. Like, I personally have had a chance to meet with him and see him in his elements, and I look forward to working with him. His engagement with youth already, and some of the work that he was in our office and did some work in our office. So just wanted to say thank you, and I wish he was here to say that, thank you, and hope to have the opportunity to work with him.
So, sorry, I allowed him to leave. I should have kept him back. But thank you for that comment, Councillor, because much like fraud with youth, we know that the best chance that youth have on staying on the right path in life is that early intervention, that early awareness, and that good guidance from people, right? Because sometimes when youth get on the wrong path, it's hard to correct that. The value of school resource officers can't be understated. It is, I believe in it. There's lots of documented and undocumented successes with them. And, I'm glad that the city and the schools here allow that. So we too are very happy with that and with him.
Any other questions? Okay, Councillor Wardrop.
I know I am just going to echo what Councillor just said, but I just wanted to say it because I want you to hear it from more than at least one of us. But yeah, thank you. I was very impressed with Constable LaChance, and I wholeheartedly agree with everything he said about SROs and their importance. I'm thrilled, and your report was so excellent. And I just want to say, Staff Sergeant Harms, just in case this is the last time we're in a room together, I really appreciate the work that you've done here. And I can just tell, through your reports, through your exchanges with us, how much of a great fit you are for our community and how much you care. Especially look at the initiatives that you've brought recently, the Coffee with a Cop, the Operation Street Sweep. I'm thrilled, really impressed, and I can't wait to see what you guys get done in the future. We're really fortunate to have you, so thank you very much.
Councillor Goodenough.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a question. Concerning number 7 there, the search warrant for drugs.
Yes.
Obviously, we see a lot of times in our city, people will be posting on Brooks Rant and Rave about crimes that are taking place. Could you just take a moment and maybe just simplify, if a resident suspects that there are drugs being made or distributed, what is the proper procedure for that?
That's a great question. So a couple things, first of all, when we're doing search warrants and police operations, often I will reach out to the mayor or Mr. Legore and let them know about police presences and kind of what we're doing. And I think that kind of gets looked at, and we sometimes push word out through the CAO and the mayor, whether there's public concern or not, sort of thing. So I want people to understand that, and often there isn't. It's a very isolated type operation. With respect to people reporting things like that got us to something like that, we need to know about crime in the city or suspected crime, right? And even suspicious persons complaints have led to some of our biggest investigations and biggest wins, so to speak, when it comes to drug enforcement or dealing with criminals. But we can't deal with it if we don't know about it, right? So there's a number of things people can do. We have a complaint line. People can call the complaint line. Obviously, if it's an emergency, they can call 911 if they want to report that. If they're really not inclined to do that because they don't want to be involved or they don't want their name associated, there is a Crime Stoppers route that people can go. And you can phone Crime Stoppers, or if you go on the RCMP Alberta app on your phones, there's an option to open up and make a Crime Stoppers tip. So there's a number of ways to get that information to us, or you can come down to the detachment and talk to us about it. And that kind of gives us a starting point, brings it to our our awareness sort of thing, and then we can deal with it.
Great. Thank you for the clarification on that.
Yeah.
Okay, I will wrap it up here too. I know this is my last time, my last RCMP report there too, and I just want to mention too that in the 4 years of being mayor of Brooks, I've always had a great relationship who was ever in your position there too, and I take pride in that, where, they contacted us or we could contact them if there was situations like that. So I want to thank you and your department for the relationship we've had over the last 4 years, and I know it's going to continue in the future. So thank you very much.
Thank you for that. Thanks for all the kind words, everyone.
Yeah, thank you, yeah.
Yep.
Like anybody else, you can spend the rest of the afternoon with us. Or
All right. Thank you, everyone. Very much appreciated.
Okay, we have a motion here about the RCMP report. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, moved by Councillor Nesbitt that the following items of correspondence be received as information updates on council conferences or workshops, council committee reports, and we'll start off with Councillor Jessica.
Thank you, Your Honor. Well, it's been a bit of a busy summer. I'll start with SEWA. So, as soon as I find the page. Oh. Thank you for that. With the decision to leave SEWA by New Regional Solid Waste and member municipalities, I resigned from chairmanship and membership as a board member, but the project is continuing just through New Regional Solid Waste, and they have been actively seeking other communities to help bring the volume of waste up to make the project viable. And the latest I heard is they are close to the point in their negotiations that they're signing a deal to have the equipment manufactured and brought in. So hopefully in the not too distant future they'll have what they're intending to be essentially a prototype from North America of the technology that they're using in Asia right now. So that's moving ahead. The Airport Commission, they had that grant for the runway light upgrade, and the upgrade is underway and hopefully will be completed this year. And the 2026 budget was approved, including airport lease rates increased by approximately $10,000 to take a chunk out of the annual deficit of about $30,000. And the terminal building roof and exterior were damaged by the recent hailstorm. The extent of repairs needed is still to be determined, but fortunately it didn't blow out any of the windows because the interior had just been renovated, so painted and carpets updated and everything. So we're lucky for that. And now there is a very nice facility out there. If somebody is looking for a place to hold a meeting, it should be available, and that might be a place to consider. So Eco Brooks, so a mural design was selected, and it was installed on a wrap on the Palliser Airshed Monitoring Society monitoring station by the East Ball Diamonds. So if you go online to check the air quality in Brooks, that is where those numbers would be coming from, and has more than a little bit of relevance with some of the smoke events we've had lately. And some of the numbers have been pretty high in Brooks, and you may not realize just how high they are and the risk that's associated with that without actually looking what those numbers are. So Brooks is recognized as a bee city with resources and activities promoting awareness of the importance of our native pollinators. And so they had Pollinator Week events, and Philpott Honey was kind enough to provide containers of their honey for Pollinator Week and at the Center for the CDC South. And the annual community cleanup was held on July 9th, and it was widely promoted, and attendance was still down slightly with approximately 60 participants, but they did manage to collect 27 full bags of litter, and EID provided staff to collect them for disposal. And communities including Edmonton, Red Deer, Medicine Hat, and Ottawa were contacted regarding their public potable water dispensers. So the Edmonton design looks like a good option, and Eco Brooks is working with Public Works to pick a location at either Duke of Sutherland or Stafford Lake Parks for a dispenser. And for anyone that has some idea for an environmental project or activities, the 2025 Community Benefit Grant Program is accepting applications to provide funding to support on such efforts. In the sign committee, with the upcoming multi-unit developments, parking in front of the post office and residential areas adjacent to some of the other projects were discussed. Time limit parking was discussed for First Avenue in front of the post office, and permit parking may be instituted in some of the residential areas that are impacted by some of these developments. Brooks and District Museum, this is last weekend, they had the Family Fun Fair, Tractor Parade and Museum event, and it was very well attended with an estimated 500 to 600 people coming through, which might explain why we didn't see quite as many as I expected downtown at the same time. So in the future, I guess you have to watch for that overlap, or FCSS and the museum should watch for that. And on a lighter note, preparations are underway for the 2025 Halloween event at the museum, October 16th, 17th, 18th, 23rd, 24th, 25th, 29th, and 30th. And one day will be dedicated to the younger children, and the other ones for people with a higher tolerance for terror. So they usually put on a good show. And Brooks Parks was kind enough to plant a row of shelter belt trees between the museum and Castles Road. So they were pretty large to start with, and I think that will kind of certainly add to that area. Communities in Bloom, Pet Value was kind enough to sponsor a pet waste bag dispenser for the Brooks Dog Park, and the Rose Garden and Butterfly Garden are looking good thanks to the efforts of board members and the Brooks Parks Department. You've probably all seen the planters that were installed on Castles Road, and the Rose Garden Tea was held on the 26th with good attendance. So the wind sculptures are kind of something that's out there, but I don't think they get a lot of attention. There's some over by the McDonald's. There's one at the west entrance of town on Castles Road. There was one by the across the street from the museum on the corner that got run over. So these are actually the work of an internationally recognized artist, and they are going to be relocated from those three locations to the Rose Garden. So it's to kind of complement each other. So that should be quite nice. And upcoming, we have the 2025 commemorative garden dedication on Wednesday, the 24th at 2 p.m. if anyone is interested and able to attend. Old Man River Regional Services Commission. So they do our bylaws and our planning, and when we have Gavin from that organization attending quite a number of our meetings, and they're very knowledgeable and helpful, and they also do provide technical assistance and actual technology for municipalities. They've had some rough few years, so they had a deficit again for 2024, better than 2023, and to eliminate this, membership fees were increased 35% for 2025. So when you're wondering where some of the tax money is going, those are the things that the city has to deal with, and you know, their services are not something the city can do without. Their fees will be increased another 14% in 2026 and 7% in 2027, and hopefully that will bring their financial house more in order. And talking about the technology, they did a presentation on Willow Creek, and they use a digital video used to explain the land use bylaws to the residents. So they just go online and watch it, and they find that it's simple and more effective than PowerPoint with narration. It supplements more traditional public outreach. It cost them $4,500 for the first one using online design program. Once the process has been worked through, subsequent presentations are much easier to develop. And you know, if we want to try to reach out to our citizens with something like that, they would be a good contact. That's what I've got.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Jessica. Any questions for Council? Okay, moving on to Councillor Nesbitt.
Thank you, Your Honor. First, I'd like to say that Councillor Jessica attended the meeting on behalf of me for Newell Regional Services while I was down on the beach in Lithuania. And he mentioned that the Lake Newell Resort lift station upgrade is essentially complete with deficiencies addressed and well under the projected cost, which is amazing for what they had to do. The Bizana wastewater disposal pivot is now in use, and the cost of water is 54 cents a meter cubed and is being sold for $1.25 a meter cubed, which is still the lowest cost in the province. For 2026, the cost will increase 0.5 cents per meter cubed. And I'll relay the 2026 budget. The revenue is $5,427,732. plus a $760,000 deferred revenue. Continuing with the financial framework plan, we've increased the water rate by 5 cents per meter cube to $1.25, which will stay for exactly a year. The purpose of the increases in rates is to maintain funds for future upgrades. There's a big worry about mollusks coming down into Lake Newell, which would be a big problem because it would plug up all the pipelines. But this will replace the membranes in the water plant and the expansion they have to do more water. We increased our budgeted revenues by $185,000, and that's compared to the 2025 budget revenues. We've increased our consumption by 0.1% for 2026 as well. All other revenues items are within reason compared to 2025. Expenses, $3,624,597 plus $1,235,000 in amortization. The proposed 2026 budget takes into account amortization, and this accounts for a total of $1,235,000. This is increased for 2026 due to new membrane installations. Although this is not cash out of the bank, we are accounting for the replacement of the existing assets. Overall, we are proposing a total expense budget of $4,689,597. Realize how much water is very precious to us. The total increase in budget expenditures is $30,167 compared to the 2025 budget. We've increased our contractor services for the water treatment plant, as those costs are increasing every year as our building and equipment age. Operations has also requested some of the instrumentation for the transmission main and the WTP. Some expenditures accounts are up, some are down, but overall expenses will stay consistent with the previous year and do not anticipate any changes that could adversely affect our financial positions. Next, we did a survey for the Arts, Culture, and Heritage Board at the last at the arena on July 1st, and it seems that all participants in the survey were satisfied with the arts, culture, and heritage events in the community. One of the requests was for a movie theater for entertainment. It's a huge request from the citizens of Brooks, although I don't think most residents know what we're going through right now without having a theater. Although it's not listed many times on the survey, past responses from the newspaper articles and radio comments seem to make it a priority in our community. A proposal from the owners of the theater approached the city to buy the facility, and this subject is being considered, but most likely the new council will have to decide the outcome. If the city bought the facility, Arts, Culture, and Heritage could use it for both movies and live performances, because there still is a stage there. I'm not sure if you can walk on it still. Arts, Culture, and Heritage are a big request from the participants in our survey. Festivals of different extractions all want to know what their origins contain. Even though they are Canadians, no one leaves their culture behind. We had potatoes for dinner 7 days a week when I was young, which is a custom of the Irish. Some barriers that stop people from attending certain events cannot be helped. Knowledge of what is happening in the community can be accommodated by the fact that we promote constantly. Participation in the community events is something almost everyone is or wants to be involved with. Arts, Culture, and Heritage would have a large amount of people that would join in and help with whatever project would help promote their culture. Some of the comments included in our questionnaire were, I want to be a helper in your events, I enjoy volunteering, I just want to be a volunteer, and would like to participate in performing, organizing, and learning equally. There seems to be an active participation suggestion when it comes to the arts because it has a great meaning, and it's their favorite thing. It makes a person feel part of the community when they can express themselves. Culture plays a big part in the world, and our heritage is very diverse in Brooks. If I wanted to survey different groups in our community, Facebook would be a likely source of information. Unfortunately, I'm not too well versed in this area, being a paper and pen type of guy, so I would depend on others in my group to attend to this endeavor. I would also suggest we determine what ethnic groups want to participate. It's obvious the Filipino and Nigerian citizens are eager to share their culture, but obviously there are many more. Maybe it's because we have to contact them by means of Facebook, mail, or direct contact when inviting them to our meetings. The survey we produced at the Canada Day event didn't classify exactly what was a good way to get more people involved. Sometimes people want to escalate the importance of where they came from. I haven't met anyone that wasn't proud of their origins, and it would be great if we could help them by letting the people in Brooks know what it was like to be raised in a land so far away. That's my report.
Okay. Any questions for Councillor Nesbitt? Okay, moving on to Councillor Wardrop.
Thank you. Before I begin, I do have a question for Councillor Jessica about regarding your report on Orsk. I guess two questions. So you said it was a rough 3 years, and we've got large increase in memberships coming. I think 35%, 14 and 7
Yes, we've already
respectively?
experienced the 35%.
Right. So then, how much are we, do you know off the top of your head about how much we pay right now, so we could kind of know what we're expecting for 26 and 27?
In the reporting, they didn't go into specifics, and I didn't think to ask. That would be something that I'm sure we can find out.
Yeah, I'd be curious to know the kind of number there, but thank you. Okay, I'll begin with FCSS then. I'll begin with telling you about our latest micro grant approvals. So we approved the Rosemary Egg Society, and that was in the amount of $1,500 to host the Saturday farmers markets in Brooks, and that seemed to be quite successful. The second was to support their Canada Day celebrations in the amount of $3,500. And then we also approved a grant in the amount of $4,650. That was for the youth summer kickoff party. That happened at the beginning of July, I think, and it was a great success. In August, we met again. We kept getting micro grant applications. We gave money to LifeTalk in the amount of $3,500. LifeTalk will be going to the high school to deliver presentations on wellness and mental health. So that's fantastic to see. And then Newell Adult Education, I think that's the name of the organization, the Dolly Parton Library Project, they're going to start that in the county there. We gave them $5,000 of microgrant funds for that. And we also approved the Bandits $5,000 for the some for this year, some for next year, to contribute to the community zone at the Brooks Bandits games again. And I believe that's everything for the micro grants. Our core grant funding presentations are coming up right away on the 20th, on September 20th. We have, again, an increased number of applicants. I'm looking very forward to I guess, I don't know if I'll be sharing that with you, but I'm looking forward to seeing the presentations and being able to go over that with the board. We have seen some changes to the way that the funding process happens for next year, for 2026. The new outcomes measures were passed down, and they required us to update our applications, the reporting, and the data collection tools. And so as a result, all of that's going to be happening online now, which is positive, actually, because then it's easier to track that all the reports are complete, that the application is complete, and it's easier to make alterations that way. And yeah, so again, I think the expressions of interest closed on the 15th, August 15th, and we'll be reviewing those soon. The 2026 budget was approved. The big number that you may be interested in would be the core funding will be $348,223.55, and micro grant funding will be $125,000. We also, we met, the policies subcommittee met, and we completely did a full review and a rewrite of the manual in partnership with our executive director. That was really positive. The last time it was updated was 2017. So it was a good idea to do that. I think it's a really positive step forward, ensuring that going forward, governance tools are current, everything's accessible, it's aligned with legislation, and our internal operations are newish. She's not new anymore, but our executive director. So I'm really confident going forward after the election, whoever makes up that new board will have a nice smooth transition. And I believe that's all I have for FCSS. I attended the Intercity Forum on Social Policy. We met back in June. The focus was on housing last time, which I reported on. This month, the focus was on shelter location research. So looking at where are the best locations in communities to operate and build and locate a shelter. So we had a very interesting, competent, experienced guest speaker. His name was Dr. Monty Gosh, and he's from the University of Calgary, and I think he splits his time between Calgary and Edmonton. Give him a Google. Just Google his name. He's really, he does really wonderful work. So he was only with us for a brief time. He gave us a very brief presentation kind of on, well, he specializes in addiction, so he kind of gave us a presentation on experiences of people experiencing homelessness and emergency shelters and kind of what that can look like and their outcomes when they go to the hospital and their access to services afterward. So a couple facts that I wrote down I thought that were pretty notable. So the ratio of social workers to patients in hospitals is 1 social worker to every 30 people or patients. Social workers elsewhere, the ratio is 1 to 300. So there's there's a limited access of resource there, and this was something particularly interesting. And if you look up Dr. Gosh's work, you'll see a lot of this too. Is that a person with lived experience? So somebody who has experienced addictions or homelessness, that sort of thing. Them being part of that care team or interacting with the patient actually makes a 50% difference in whether or not that person will access services after their hospital stay. So it does actually make a really huge difference in when they leave the hospital that they continue to get the services that they need. And so then we had a discussion with Dr. Gosh about he wants to do some research about, like I said earlier, the really closely pertaining to us about where are best practices for shelter locations. And so he was gathering information there. The municipalities, we got to kind of contribute and tell Dr. Gosh like what would be interesting information, helpful information for us as municipalities if we were to go that route. So I contributed 2 questions to his research, or for consideration to his research. I asked, what is the best size shelter for a city, a smaller city like Brooks? Because we're smaller. We don't really fit in with those larger centers that deal with this. But obviously, we still deal with the issue of homelessness and addictions. That resonated with a lot of members on the committee, and so that kind of we had a little bit of a larger discussion on that. And Dr. Gosh, I think, was already kind of interested in focusing more on those rural areas. So that was excellent because there's already research. There's some resources for those larger cities. I also requested. I said it would be really great to understand how youth fit into a shelter system. Anecdotally, that's the type of homelessness that I'm very, unfortunately, acutely aware of, just being kind of in that education bubble. That we have that issue here in Brooks, and it's kind of an area we don't seem equipped to deal with yet. And so I'm really curious to know what information we can learn, as well as other municipalities in Alberta, how that can work into supporting the at-risk youth in our community. So yeah, overall, it was a very, very interesting, fruitful meeting. The ICFSP approved, I'm looking at Director Tippin, I believe it's $20,000 towards this research, approximately $20,000 to $25,000 for Dr. Gosh to work on this research. It's meaningful work. It will make a difference in communities all across Alberta. So it was a wonderful meeting to be a part of. It was a great group of people. Moving on to Rec Board, I don't have a whole lot of excitement to report except for the larger projects that you're already aware of are underway or completed, and it's positive. So the Griffin Park tennis courts / pickleball courts were resurfaced. That's completed. The Upland Spray Park is underway. I just drove by there a couple days ago, looking like lots of progress there. And then the skate park construction is also underway. Everything's looking pretty positive there. The board donated a few, family passes, and we waived a fee for a 3-hour rental to the library. They had a family performer as part of their summer reading program, and they had a large number of people. I want to say like they had 90 or something, and they were expecting more. So it was a very popular program that they were hosting. So we were happy to donate a few hours of our East-West meeting rooms for that cause. And then, really, finally, our Welcoming Inclusive Committee. So this committee has been very, very busy, lots of work happening, lots of discussion because it's brand new too. So I'm really proud of all the work that we've done so far, and it's really wonderful to see new faces around boardroom tables and hearing their perspectives. It's been an excellent experience for me. So we approved that anti-racism policy, that kind of base one that we've got going on. We did that July 7th at our July 7th council meeting. And now our focus is on an environmental scan. So before we go, we had our discussion about, what's our long-term goal? We're trying to think of a strategic plan, but before we get too deep into that, we want to do an environmental scan to kind of see where our weak points are and where our strengths are and where we can leverage strength in the community. It's good to have this we have our anecdotal information. There's people from all corners of the city around the table. We try our best anyway, but we want some hard data. So we released our survey. My goodness, the name of it, I don't know off the top of my head. We were we were at a booth at the Welcome and Wind Down event on Saturday, handing out that survey. It's all online. You can still access it. Maybe I'll post that on my social media, or I can give it to our communications. They can, if they're not already sharing it out, we can share it out. So we did a lot of work trying to narrow down the questions, make it really quick and easy and attractive for people to actually fill out. So there's a mixture of just like clicking and selecting answers, and then every answer that you click, you can choose to fill in comments. So you can write your whole life story if you want on one question, but if you don't want to, you can just go click, 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 and give your opinion. So hoping to get a lot of good information that way. And that Welcome and Wind Down event, by the way, I think approximately 400 people attended that, which is excellent, especially because there was so much else going on in the city. So it was really good to see people come out. But yeah, so this, I guess I just want to mention too, if it's not clear, the focus on the environmental scan is to focus on inclusion and to make sure that we want to know how welcoming and inclusive is Brooks really, and we're hoping to learn from that so that we can plan for the long term. Yeah, I believe that's it. If anyone has any questions for me.
Anybody with any questions? Okay, thanks you, Councillor Wardrop there. Councillor Wardrop and myself sit on Newell Housing, so I'll just highlight some of the stuff from that committee there. At Newbrook Lodge, there currently is no wait list for Newbrook Lodge. The Recreation Department would like to say thank you to the City of Brooks for the use of the Access Transit bus to take residents to a picnic at Kimbrook Island, as well as having the Deputy Mayor, good enough, attend with treats that day. They have a new sidewalk to assist residents traveling to the Brooks Health Center from the lodge. The old asphalt paveway belongs to Alberta Health, or belongs to the health center, and it was in poor condition with many tripping hazards, and a lot of people from Newbrook Lodge go from there right to the health center there, so it's nice to have that done there too. The Newbrook Lodge Recreation Department has submitted an expression of interest to Grasslands for your micro grants, and I just want to point out, I think that was a great idea to bring those micro grants in from FCSS. I think it's really good for the community there too. Out in Bizano too, I'll just mention a few things too. At Playfair Lodge and Dr. Scott Apartments, there's 4 households on the waiting list for the Dr. Scott Apartments, 2 households on the waiting list for the Playfair Lodge. At the Pioneer Villas, they received approval for the replacement of the makeup air units through the Government of Alberta Capital Maintenance and Renewal Program. The project will start next spring there too. For community housing and the rent subsidy program, 170 households received subsidies in September for community housing for a total of $90,637 in subsidy payments and $6,800 received in admin fees. So that's some information from there. I'm also sitting on Veterans Highway, that committee there. They continue to work on improvements to Veterans Highway. That's the Highway 36, as it was called before, and it's a high-load highway that goes all the way from Coutts to Fort McMurray. One area the committee is working on is having more passing lanes that will help with the larger loads that are slowing down traffic on that highway. If you've ever had to travel that, sometimes you get caught behind some of those heavy loads, and it'd be nice if there was more passing lanes along there too. I was at the PEP meeting on Friday. Arnold Dorkson, who is the Reeve of the County in Newell, was voted in as the new chairperson for PEP. They're working on a plan for export readiness, which is talking with local producers and those in the Asian markets to find out what products we can produce here to send over to those countries. I know there's a group that are going over to Japan here in the next little while. No, I'm not going on that one there too. They're also working on ways to increase the number of vets in the area. Reeve Dorkson at the meeting talked about the plans for the CDC Center, and Bow Island Mayor Gord Reynolds gave an update on the Highway 320, which is going to take some time, but it's in the process right now. Something else I want to mention too, the iCubed event, great event last Friday, talking about the oil and gas industry. Interesting to hear that the oil and gas sector isn't as big as it once was, but we knew that, but it's just as important and will continue to be important for years down the road. And also nice to hear from Jim Gray. In 1973, he co-founded the Canadian Hunter Exploration, one of Canada's largest natural gas producers. I think at the meeting, and a few of us were there, I think that he sold the company for $3 billion, just a few pennies there. But he was the one that was instrumental in developing the oil and gas sector in southeast Alberta. Now, it did not come easy for him. He had his ups and downs too, but it was great to listen to him. He had some good words of wisdom, telling young people, if you want to do anything, get involved in the community, volunteer. He said, so do more in your family, in your business, in your community, your city, and your province. Do more for your own quality of life and for others. So I thought just a compliment out to Mitch and his crew there for that event there. I thought it was a great event for the community there too. Okay, anybody else have anything on that? Okay, move on. We had a motion on all this. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, moved by Councillor Prentice that Council approve policy L001-026A entitled Flag Half-Masting Policy. Manager of Legislative Services, Amy Fontura.
Thank you. Through the chair to Mayor and Council, the city's flag half-masting policy has been updated to align with the federal government's rules for half-masting the national flag of Canada, as well as current city practice. This was presented last week to Council Committee, but I will just quickly recap the changes. Ensuring the Canadian flag is lowered last if all flags are lowered at separate times. The addition of lowering the flags following the death of a Privy Councillor, High Commissioner, or Ambassador. The inclusion of additional days of mourning or remembrance, Vimy Ridge Day, National Day of Remembrance for Victims of Terrorism, Firefighters National Memorial Day, and National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. And the flags flown on city flagpoles shall only be the Canadian flag, Alberta flag, and City of Brooks flag. Therefore, administration is recommending that council approve the policy.
Any questions? To the motion, all those in favor? Carried. Moved by Councillor Wardrop that council approve policy F-002-005 entitled Asset Naming Criteria Policy. Back again.
Thank you again, through the chair to mayor and council. After receiving a request to rename the West End Park, council directed administration to determine how other municipalities name or rename their assets, and various policies were reviewed. The sponsorship information from the Recreation Department's fundraising documents was also included, so all naming rights donations are processed equitably. This policy was also presented to Council Committee last week, and there were some changes that have been included in the draft policy before you today. We made some minor changes regarding position names that have recently changed, and the sponsorship length for bronze and silver has been shortened to 10 years. Previously, it was 20. And another change, that funding received will be allocated to the general operating fund rather than a reserve, as that is our current practice. Therefore, administration recommends that council approve this policy as well.
Any questions? Okay, to the motion, all those in favor? Carried. Okay, moved by Councillor Goodenough that council approve the relocation of the train. Am I the right one here? Or did I miss one? No, I'm on the right one. Yep. Okay, moved by Councillor Goodenough that the council approve the relocation of the train elevator mural from the Bad Company Restaurant to the Newell Hotel. Amy.
Thank you. Again, there are two requests within my memo, but two separate motions, so I'll just address both of them right now. We have received two mural relocation applications from Communities in Bloom, and they were attached for council. As the murals will be placed onto private property and funded with private funds, council is the approving body for these applications. The first application is to relocate a train elevator mural from the Bad Company Restaurant to the Newell Hotel, and the cost to install the mural will be funded by Communities in Bloom. And the second application is to relocate a rodeo mural from the Silver Sage to the Vibrook building, and the cost to install this mural will be funded by the Kinsmen. Therefore, administration recommends that both relocation applications be approved.
Okay, any questions? Okay, we've got a couple motions here. To the first one here, all those in favor? Carried. And then the second motion here too, moved by Councillor Idris, that council approve the relocation of the rodeo mural from the Silver Sage building to the Vibrook building. Any questions on this one? Okay, to the motion, all those in favor? Carried. Okay, moved by Councillor Juska that a tax sale under the authority of the MGA be held on Monday, November 10th at 2025 at 2 p.m. in the council chambers, and that the reserved bids be set as specified in the attached notice, and further that all subject properties be sold in accordance with the following conditions: property sold as is, where is, payment accepted by cash, certified check, Interact, or bank draft, a minimum 10% non-refundable deposit be required on the day of the sale, and the balance payment due within 10 days of the auction. Okay.
Through the chair to mayor and council, as part of the tax recovery process, per the MGA, we hold an annual tax recovery auction in an effort to collect property tax arrears. So as stated, administration has identified the eligible properties, and our assessor has established reserve bids, which are attached for your consideration. So we're just looking at approval for the tax sale date, the reserve bids, and the conditions as stated.
Okay, any questions? No questions. To the motion, all those in favor? Carried. Okay, moved by Councillor Nesbitt that bylaw number 2524 being a bylaw of the City of Brooks in the province of Alberta to authorize municipal tax reductions for eligible residential properties under the Residential New Build Incentive Program be introduced and read a first time. Kathy again.
Through the Chair to Mayor and Council, as discussed last week at the Council Committee meeting, administration has drafted a residential new build incentive tax reduction bylaw. This bylaw is based on the policy Council approved in June of 2023, along with the requirements in the MGA. The program application deadline is December 31st, 2025. After that time, no new properties will be added to the program. This bylaw will be brought forward annually, though, with updated schedules outlining the property's eligibility under the program for formal approval prior to applying any tax reductions to the tax rolls. So administration is recommending that Council provide readings and adopt the bylaw and also rescind the policy that was previously approved.
Okay, to the motion, all those in favor? Carried. Okay, moved by Councillor Prentice that bylaw number 2524 be read a second time. Any questions? Okay, to the motion, all those in favor? Carried. Moved by Councillor Wardrop that bylaw number 2524 be given 3 readings at this meeting. Has to be carried unanimously. All those in favor? And Bill put up his hand too, so it is carried unanimously. Moved by Councillor Goodenough that bylaw number 2524 being a bylaw of the City of Brooks in the province of Alberta to authorize municipal tax reductions for eligible residential properties under the Residential New Build Incentive Program be read a third time and adopted. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, I know the meeting's going to Councillor Idris.
Do we actually need a motion to rescind the policy? Because that was one of the requirements.
Okay. CEO Lagore, yeah.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we'll bring a motion for the next meeting to deal with that. Thank you.
Okay, good point. Okay. I just want to mention as we wind down this term of council, and we have one more meeting after this one, but we'll be in the election at that point there. So I just kind of wanted to review some of what has been done since we were first elected 4 years ago. I'm going to take you a little road trip down history lane here. When we were elected in the fall of 2021, we were still under COVID restrictions. A lot of people forget that. So our council and administration was left dealing with the fallout of that, which included getting our facilities up and running again. Most of those restrictions did not come off until March 2022, and the final mask and isolation requirements ended in June of 2022. Our council here, all of us had a commitment to economic development and housing. In that 4-year period, the city approved 400 development permits for around $88 million. That development includes about 400 new housing or apartment units, which are underway or in the queue. Now, this came about not only from a commitment from staff, but we brought in our residential new housing incentive program, where a new apartment or new home would receive 100% off their municipal taxes the first year, 75% the second, 50% the third, 25% the fourth year. Other ways we started to encourage residential development investment was to reduce the sale price of city-owned residential lots, eliminated the application fee for residential development permits, and eliminated the city's portion of residential building permits. Our economic development team shifted investment attraction efforts towards housing developers, worked directly with investors, building relationships, and working hard to get Brooks on the radar. We also did a major zoning change to allow for more high-density areas and secondary suites, making our bylaw more flexible and responsive to the needs of the market. Now, council did rezone the old rodeo grounds, which made way for the approval of the new Chrysler Redeemer High School, which will probably come in about $50 million or more, which is good for economic activity in the community. We rezoned an area in the southeast for a new elementary school for the Grassland School Division. Brooksnet came to fruition offering high-speed internet, and while this is in its infancy stages, with data centers and AI coming quickly, this is important for the future for economic development in our community and even to keep residents here. Plus, with Alberta's data center strategy aiming to draw up to $100 billion in private investment in the next 5 years, and with our fiber optic network, the hope is some of that investment comes this way. Some of the other things we did, we developed a new off-leash dog park. The city worked with JBS Foods, which gave us $475,000 for a new park. We started the construction of the new skateboard park and pump track, which we heard from the rec report. The new spray park is being developed in Uplands. The Griffin Park courts were resurfaced for both tennis and pickleball. We worked with the Grassland Soccer Association for new fields in the southeast. We brought the province to Brooks, hosting the Plus 55 Alberta Summer Games, which were a huge hit. We adopted the Urban Hen program, starting out as a pilot program and became an established program under the city's animal control bylaw. We changed the 20-year-old taxi bylaw to allow for more services in the community. The city hired an inclusion coordinator, and we won a diversity award in 2025. Council approved the startup of the Welcoming and Inclusive Community Committee, focusing on ensuring all residents feel connected and included in civic life. Brooks was the first community in Alberta to become designated under the Alberta Advantage Immigration Program Rural Renewal Stream, which helps build and grow our workforce, while also offering residents a pathway to permanent residency. We allowed the Bolorama downtown, which has been running for 4 years and been very successful. We worked with the Brooks Street Rod Association to bring the car show back downtown. We worked with the Brooks Legion to get the Remembrance Day ceremonies back at the JBS Canada Centre. We approved grants for the Arts, Culture, and Heritage Committee. Council worked with the RCMP for improved communications to keep the community posted on what is happening instead of the narrative led by social media. Council has been putting aside money for an increase in RCMP costs when our population goes over 15,000. We're well over 15,000 now, but it won't be official until after the census of 2026, and probably we'll hear about that in 2027. Council did approve a new 4-year deal with CUPE workers. We dealt with some unexpected major repairs at the CRA, which have been solved now, and that could have been a major problem. We secured funding for new lockers at the JBS Canada Centre. The city approved the new equipment for the wave pool at the JBS Canada Centre. We secured a grant of $8.9 million for the new wastewater treatment facility. We secured funding for upgrades at the Brooks Airport. We worked with communities in Bloom and added the larger flower pots, which went along Castles Road and in front of City Hall there, and I think they look great. We worked with the county in Newell to help them lobby for the new road out of JBS to increase safety for a lot of the workers that make their home in Brooks here. We paid down debenture debt. We updated master plans for the cemetery, linear trails, and the southeast sector area structure plan that comes up at our council meeting on October 6th. We worked with the county in Newell for the Kinbrook Connection Pathway, which officially opens this month. We also worked with the Brooks and Newell region on the hydrogen hub. And we have to mention the financial and moral support the city provides the Brooks Bandits. And to point out, since this council has been in place there, the Brooks Bandits have never lost a championship. That's 2 Centennial Cups, 1 in Estevan, 1 in Portage. They won the Rocky Mountain Challenge and the Fred Page Cup. So congratulations, council, there too. I just want to mention too that this all came about thanks to a commitment from council and from you guys, the staff. So thank you very much in the last 4 years. Much more to mention, but I wanted to go through some of the highlights there. I hope you're applauding for yourself because there's a lot of work there. Okay, moved by Councillor Jessica that the meeting adjourn at 5:52 p.m. All those in favor? Aye. Carried.